Gordon Kachi here again, and in this video we would be looking at some hacks that can help you use Excel effectively. Suffice to say that this is one of the videos in the series Computer Appreciation, and for the past few days we have been dealing on Excel basically. So these hacks I'm about to share with you, they are not department agnostics. So it is not because you are in data analytics you will need them, or because you are in accounting you are going to need them. You don't. So long you use Microsoft Excel for your day-to-day activities, these hacks will be a very essential kit that should be in your toolbox. Now, for example, I have this this dummy data here. I'm going to change this to names, for example. So chances are that most of the time you are going to encounter a data set that looks just like this. But if you have a data set that looks like this, and the number of rows is numbering just about 10, like this one I'm having on this screen, then it doesn't hurt that you want to say you want to do this thing I want to do without using the tools I'm going to recommend. But when the cells are numbering into hundreds or 1,000, then it becomes very important that you have these hacks as part of your tools. Now, for example, now when you have a data set like this that contains names, it is not clean enough, right? Based on what you're intending to use it for. So for example, if you want to create a particular spreadsheet where you can assess the name of the person, you don't want to do a whole lot of acrobatics to be able to assess the first name of the person, because as we can see here, we have Peter Donovan, which is a name. But we are looking at a situation whereby we want to reference Donovan in a cell or in a column of its own. So suffice to say that to solve this problem, I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to say last name, for example, and I'm going to say first name here, just like this. And when I do this, I probably want to increase the columns to be able to accommodate the data, and I do something like Peter, and I do something like Donovan, like this. And it doesn't hurt to do something like this if your data set is just about 10 cells or 10 rows, just like we're seeing here. But now imagine that your data set is about 150, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 entries. How long would you be doing this? Because it becomes ineffective. So recall that in one of my videos that I've shared previously, I actually talked about the text to column feature of the data menu in Microsoft Excel, where I say you can do something like this: select a particular cell, come to data, come to text to columns, and then choose delimited and do if you click a button and it converts. Let's look at it together. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to select the range of the cells I'm going to work with. I come to data menu on this menu bar, and I come to text to column on my ribbon. Now this is actually going to help us separate words or sentences or whatever it is, data, into independent data. So for example, now it is asking us what is the file type that best describes this data. The one that best describes this data is actually delimited characters. And what do we mean when we say delimited character? We mean that there is an element that is joining the data on the left to the data on the right, and so on and so forth. So delimitation could be space, comma, hyphen, semicolon, colon, any of those, so long it is not just one word. So when we say delimited, it means that there is a space, there is something that is separating each field in that data set. But the other one, which we don't usually use, is fixed width, especially when it relates to names or words or strings data. So fixed width implies that there is a particular length of data, there is a particular length of field between each data. We don't always use it because it is not consistent. So I'm going to choose delimited, and I'm going to click on next. Then it's going to ask me what is the delimitation we are looking at. Okay, what is the character that is actually creating the delimitation? So we have multiple delimiters here. We have tab, we have semicolon, we have comma, we have space, and we have order. Order in the sense that if any of this four above is not identified, then we can choose what is the particular thing that is joining the two fields. So for my own case, I'm going to choose space because that is what described my data. And as you can see from this data preview, it has actually separated these two fields. So I'm going to go ahead and click on next. And it is actually general data, so it is not as if it is a special character. It is general data, but again, text character will work. All right, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to click on finish. And when I click on finish, you can see what happens, that these characters have actually been separated. These characters have been separated, and then we have the names and we have the first. So I can easily come here now and say last names instead of just name, and I'm going to do first name. So if you have been following my videos, you will know that we have done this in the past, and it's just a repetition. But what we want to look at today is in a situation whereby there is a need for us to combine the names. For example, Peter Donovan is in two different cells. So Peter is here, Donovan is on the other side. So what we want to look at today is how can we combine fields from or data from two different cells to form one. We have two processes I'm going to mention in these videos that are actually recommended from the documentation that comes with Microsoft Excel on data entry. And I'm going to try the first one first, and let's see what happens. So what we are going to do is that in the first cell, in this particular cell where we want to put the name combinations, we are going to do something like equals to, which is the commencement of the formula, and we're going to do the first one first, the crude way, then we're going to do the function. So the crude way we're going to do is we're going to say equals the cell name, which is D2, because that is what is holding our Peter. Then we are going to say ampersand. Then because there is supposed to be a space, supposed to be a space between Peter and Donovan, we are going to add this, and then we are going to add the ampersand again. And the last thing we want to do here is to put in the next cell, and we can keep doing it. D2 plus space plus E2 plus space plus F2 and so on and so forth. And let's do enter and let's see what happens. So you see the two guys have been combined together into one cell, and they can be treated as one entity. And the good thing is that I can do my autofill here and see if it works. So you can see now autofill does the job easily for me because it is not actually an absolute reference. But this, you might say, it is a long process because I have to type out the formulas one after the other. The other way we can do this is by using the formula the function that comes with Microsoft Excel, which is called concatenate. In old versions of Excel, you might have it as concat, or I think in the newer version, you might have it as concat, as the case may be. But be it concat or concatenate, it works perfectly fine. But for my own recommendation, I think I'm going to type it for full. So I'm going to do equals to concatenate, just like this, and you can see it says join several strings into one text string. So I'm going to do concatenate, and it is a function, so it is going to take a parenthesis. Then what are we joining? We are joining D2, right? Now you notice something here, that the recommendation or the documentation says that concatenate text 1, comma, text 2, comma, text 3, comma, text 4, and so on and so forth. But if you do it like that, you will see that it is going to form into one word. There will not be a space between them. I'm going to do the first and I'm going to do the second. So I'm going to do E2, just like so, and I'm going to close the parenthesis. And when I press enter, you will notice it is pronounced with Donovan. There is no space between them. So because of that, we are going to add a little hack. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm just going to come here and I'm going to add a space, right? Which is going to be like this. And that's all I want to do. And I press my enter, then Peter Donovan is working. So we'll come back here and we'll look at what we have done together. What we have done is that we have added D2. We have concatenated D2, then with an empty space or a white space and then with E2, and that's why we can be able to make, or we were able to make Peter Donovan in the right syntax. So I'm going to do autofill again, and as you can see, they are all correct. And rotate, Kudunkachi, Elias, wheels, and their brides, or email, and so on and so forth. That solves the problem. So you can see now that this hack is very, very essential for anyone who is using Excel on a day-to-day activity. So hoping that you have actually learned a thing or two from these hacks. Another one that we want to look at today is this future. So this is still Microsoft Excel, and as you can see, please select a job you'd like. So I'm coming in here and I'm selecting this whole jobs, right? So this is a feature in Microsoft Excel that is actually treating lists. It's actually for us to be able to create a drop-down list from Microsoft Excel. Now this page is going, or this sheet is going to be what we have on the surface. But then there is a particular sheet that is supplying the data to us. So let's look at the sheet that is supplying the data. So you see in this sheet, I've actually listed the jobs that I want to work on. But then do not take my word for it. Let's work on this together. So the first thing we want to do is to create the data source. And for me to create a data source, I am going to say, let's create recipe for data source. I'm not very good with food, but then I'll try the ones I know how to cook. So now for recipe here, we have, for example, let's say rice, let's say a forigo, kind of things like that. Then let's do a wedu, right? And then we do achicha. Just want to be, I'm trying to be fair here, combining everybody. And let's do abacha, right? Let's do abacha, right? Let's do what again? Akidi. Yeah, I think I'm very good with food. Let's do uba. Uba is also a good one. Just list them. Let's do begiri 2. Then let's do 2 for example. So now let's assume these are the recipe that we want to actually list. Maybe you're building something that you want people to be able to interact with your worksheet, and this is what we want to see. All right, so what we are going to do here is, the first thing we need to do is to convert this thing to table. In my previous video, I showed you how to convert a range of data to a table in Microsoft Excel by pressing your Control T. But also you need to know that this feature of format as a table also converts your range to a table. So for example, if I am to highlight this box and I come to format as a table, you can see the tooltip there says quickly convert a range of cells to a table with its own style. So I'm going to click on this drop down and select one of these. Any one of these works for me. So I'm just going to make use of this. Let's use a different color this time. So I'm just going to make use of this. And as you can see, it is asking me where is the same dialog box we actually encountered when we pressed our Control plus T combination. So it's saying where is the data for your table, and obviously you can see it has been highlighted. If it is not highlighted, I would have clicked this to go and select the table. Then my table has a header, as you can see, but this is for demonstration purposes. This is not a full table. This is just a section that I want to use to demonstrate something. So I'm going to go ahead to select that my table has a header, and I click on OK, and this is what we have, right? So it have the recipe, we have rice, aforiro, and the rest of them, Now, because of this feature, we have actually created this table. Now the question is, how do you want to render this table? What do you want to do to this table that will make us be able to use it? So I'm going to go to a new sheet where I want the table to be. So so the idea here is that we want this guy to select the recipe they like, something like that. Even though yes, it might not really make sense, but we want that each of these persons should be able to select a recipe that they like so well. So what we are going to do is we go to the particular cell where we want the drop down list to be. Then we go to data on our menu bar, and on our data tools we go to data validation. So we'll click on data validation and it pops out this dialog box. Very important. Now this dialog box, we are going to come first to the setting tab, and in the setting tab we are going to in the validation criteria we are going to select for the allow, we are going to select list. We actually wanted a list, right? Then in the source section, or in the source box, we click on the source. Now you can see that our spreadsheet is actually focusing on sheet number 2. So but then that is, our source is not in sheet number 2. We need to go and move our source from sheet number 1. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to click on this, and then I click on sheet 1, and I select the section that has the data I want. As you can see, I am not selecting the title. I don't need to pick the title also. I need just to pick from, I need to pick from where my data starts from, and then I now do this, and we need to ignore blank. So if we choose this ignore blank, that means we can leave the cell. The user can leave the cell without entering any data. But then we don't want to do that. We have to uncheck. So if it is okay for, if you want people to just say, for example, I don't have any recipe, I don't want to put anything there, then you have to check ignore blank. But if you say that people must select a recipe, whether they like, let them eat Nigerian food, then you have to uncheck this ignore blank, so it doesn't ignore blank. It always tell you that you need to put something in there. Then when we are done with this, we go to input message tab, right? Then in this input message tab, we have to select the message that the user will see. All right, so for example here I'm going to do let's say for example I'm going to do food section, for instance, food section, like so, and then in the input message I'm going to say please select the food we should send to you, like this. So select the food we should send to you, and then that's that about that. Then in the error tab is to help us keep tab on what is actually happening. Maybe when the user selects something or does something you're not interested in, you actually tell the person, hey, don't go there, I need you to fix this before you move. So show error alert after invalid data is entered. We're going to see that. So what is the error message? The error message is something like unrecognized, call it recipe, for example, oh no, and then oh no, it seems like this, oh no, seems you are not familiar with this part, right? And then the next thing we need to do is we need to click on OK. All right, so you see the message, you see the input message, food section, please select the food we want, and then I'm going to do select this. Can you see we have rice, forido, we do achicha, bacha, kidi, and then this guy says uba. Then here I just want to prove stubborn, I'm saying basmati, I don't know what is that, basmati, like this. And then it takes basmati, but because I have not auto-filled, right? So this section should go down, right? So I'm going to come here and let's say basmati, for example. Basmati, for instance, then you see, oh no, seems you're not familiar with this part. Because I am giving something, and you can see my message, the title is unrecognized recipe, and oh no, it seems you're not familiar with this part. So I'm going to retry, and this time around, I don't want basmati again. I want something like abacha, and that works for me, right? So this is still yet another hack. The good thing is, if I come to my sheet here and possibly let's remove a 40 row and call it basmati, like this, like that, and I'm coming here, and then this time around I am now typing basmati. You see, it takes basmati now because basmati is now part of the source or the data source. So this is yet another very handy tool that we can use to create very beautiful spreadsheet in Excel. If you are enjoying my series, please ensure you like, subscribe, and turn on my notification bell so you get to be informed when I post videos like this. And it's important that you know that subscription to my channel gives me the motivation to keep creating very handy projects like this for your learning. See you again in the next video. Bye bye.